Hey, good morning, 7th grade. This is Monday, April the 13th. This will be your math lesson. Lesson 148 is due today. We will go over a few things. We will do some review first, then you can check some of the answers on 148 and talk a little bit about 149. This is going into the 4th week of our YouTube school. And yeah, when we have we have about 1 month left of this. So we've done 3 weeks, starting our 4th week. There's been a month now that we've not had school. The 1 week we didn't do anything because we didn't know what was happening after that. So I hope you're doing all right. Again, if I can make anything clearer, if I can do anything better for you to make things for you to be able to do well on this, let me know. I'm not getting a lot of calls. I enjoy the ones I get just to talk with a couple of you every once in a while. Make that contact. Feels good. So yeah, if you just want to call to check up on me or whatever, you're welcome to. All right, let's do some review in math. Just make sure we don't forget some things. I'm not giving you a lot of answers as we go through. I check that one lesson a week, basically, just to keep up. Make sure that if there's something that you're struggling with, please get it figured out. Call me, pay attention to the videos, make sure that we got this. All right, let's just look at a few things on cylinders. Cylinders, I thought this would be a good one to use since we're supposed to be disinfecting and all that kind of stuff, right? A cylinder. This is a cylinder. When we talk about the volume of a cylinder, we're talking about how many cubes fit inside this. This is an inch cube, right? Basically, it's kind of a crude one, but when we talk about volume in anything, a box or anything, we're talking about how many cubes can fit in it. So cubed feet means you would have one like this, that's a foot. Every side is a foot by a foot, all right? And your labels for volumes are always cubed. 55 cubed inches, 75 cubed feet, all right? It can be feet with a little 3, with the exponent 3, or just the abbreviation CU, cubed feet, however you want to do it. When we talk about surface area, we're talking about how many little squares fit on the outside of it. However many inch squares, okay, that's just the outside surface. And we, of course, have formulas for everything. Pay attention to your formulas. Going into review for tests and things, make sure you know your formulas, and we'll talk about the ones that you need to know. All right, let's look at this. A cylinder. For both of these, surface area and volume, these are the dimensions we'll use. You need a radius of 3 feet, and a height of 15 feet. And if you know the formulas, then you should be able to figure them out. So think about it. What is the formula for the surface area of a cylinder? Surface area of a cylinder, the formula is 2 pi r times r plus h. 2 pi r times r plus h. And of course, your r and your h are your radius and height, okay? So 2 times pi times radius times the sum of your radius and height. So let's put the numbers in. 2 times, always 3.14 for your pi. Radius of 3, and then your 3 plus 15, right? Get the numbers right. Get the numbers right in your formula, and you should be able to figure them out. All right? We do this one step at a time. Remember the parentheses, that's all multiplication. Do the problem within parentheses first. So, see if we can do this without running out of space. 2 times 3.14 times 3 times 3 plus 15. 45. 45, really? 3 times 15, 45. 18. All right? Then you can go 2 times 3.14. So do that next. This you did first up here. 3.14 times 2, and you might as well have this memorized because you use this whenever you use surface area. 6.28, right? Times 3 times 18. What's 6.28 times 3? 6.28 times 3 is 18.84. So do this, give you 18.84 times 18. Carefully do the math. Remember that you have a decimal. 18.84 times 18, according to my math, is 339.12 feet cubed. 339.12 feet cubed, or cubed feet. And that's your final answer. Right? Now you do not have to, on your paper, do everything, single one of these first by itself. Okay, once you get down to the multiplication, all you have to do is 2 times 3.14 times 3 times 18. You don't have to show each individual step. I broke it down into one step at a time there to do that. Let's look at volume. What is the formula for the volume of a cylinder? Pi r squared h. Pi times the radius squared times the height. Remember what this means. What does that mean? Does that mean radius times 2 or radius times radius? So your numbers would be this, 3.14 times 3 squared times 15. More often than not, 7th grade, they're going to use parentheses for multiplication. They won't use the little dots much anymore, simply so that you don't get confused with decimal points. Because I can imagine some of you, the way you do your work, you would say that, well, I would mark this wrong because, this would be 3.14 when it's supposed to be 3 times 14. You'd say, well, I have the dot there. Well, yeah, I'm sorry for being a little skeptical there, but so most times you will see parentheses for meaning multiplication, not the dots. All right. Let's solve the exponent first. 3.14 times, now is this 6 or is this 9? This is 9. This means 3 times 3, not 3 times 6. All right? Now we're ready for 3.14 times, where are we at? 3.14 times 9. Well, I did something wrong. I'm sure of that. Let me check that math. 3.14 times 9 equals 28.26. I don't know what I did, but I didn't do it right. 28.26. 28.26 times 15. Solve that. 28.26 times 15 equals 423.9. And this is area, surface area. Oh no, this is volume, sorry. This is volume. This one over here is surface area, which is feet cubed, which is feet squared, sorry. Area is squared. Did you catch that? Volume is feet cubed. I better check that math again just to make sure that's right, since I didn't have it right on my paper. 3.14 times 9 times 15. 423.9 feet cubed, yes. Okay? Formulas. If you know your formulas, you should be able to figure it out. But you need to memorize these, okay? For your tests, they will need to be memorized most of the time. So please, I'll warn you about the ones that you need to memorize. Some of them are about half complicated, but get them into your heads, all right? All right, let's work this problem over here. One of the things that we want to do, what they want to do in algebraic expressions and equations is get rid of decimals. Okay, get rid of decimals. What do we do? What can we do to get rid of decimals? To get rid of decimals, you can simply multiply both sides by powers of 10. Okay, what do we do to move the decimal point over here so that this number is 6 instead of 0.6? So if you have one place, you want this to be the whole number 6. What do? Multiply by, this is tenths, multiply by 10 will move it one place. So that's what we do. 10 times 0.6 I'm going to put the 10 in parentheses. 10 times 0.6b equals, and remember, you have to multiply both sides by the same thing. Whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other side. 10 times 3 times 1.6. All right, now simply what the multiplied by 10 does to both of these is moves the decimal point over 1. All right, so the decimal point, this moves the decimal point over 1. So now we have 6. This, the 10 times the 1.6, moves the decimal point over 1. So now you have 16. Okay? So now we're done with the 10. And all we have here is 6b equals 3 times 16. Right? 6b equals 16 times 3 is 48. Divided by 6, divided by 6, b equals 8. Okay, that gets rid of that. All we have left is b. If there were two places after the decimal point, you would multiply both sides by 100. All right? If this were not a decimal, if this were just 16, then when you multiply by 10, it would become 160. If it were not a decimal, but that's okay. It works. Okay? You just do the same things for both sides. That way you don't change the value of your equation. All right, and let's do one more along that line. Let's erase this and do one that has fractions in, because again, we want to get rid of fractions. So, what have we got here? 1/8 x times, or 1/8 x equals 2 times 2 3/8. All right? Now again, in equations like this, we get rid of decimals. We also want to get rid of fractions. Okay, we want to get rid of fractions. First step here is to turn the mixed number into an improper fraction. What is the improper fraction for 2 3/8? 2 times 8 is 16, 17, 18, 19 over 8. All right? Now to get rid of the fractions, this is a division problem. This is a division problem, right? 1 divided by 8. What's the opposite of divided by 8? 1 divided by 8. The opposite of divided by 8 is multiply by 8. So for both sides, you multiply by 8. 8 times 1 over 8. X, keep the x, equals 8 times 2 and 19 over 8. 2 times 19 over 8. All right? Divided by 8 times 8. Divided by 8 times 8. Simply gets rid of the 8's. Okay? So all you have left is 1x. Gets rid of the 8's. So what you have left now is 19 over here. So 1x is simply x equals, but you don't quite have the answer yet because you need 2 times 19, right? 2 times 19. Now solve that and x equals 38. All right? Please, some of you have been letting these blank. Stop doing that. Go back to this video, go back to this. The lesson that talks about this, this is 1 divided by 8. The opposite of divided by 8 is times 8. That gets rid of the 8's. Do it on both sides. Gets rid of the 8's. Okay? If this were not a fraction over here, you would simply be multiplying by 8. Okay? And whatever numbers you have. And that comes out. It works. All right? Let's just grade a couple things on lesson 148, which was due today. Investment amounts. So your total amount that you owe on an investment. This is talking about when you borrow money, pay interest on it. Total amount is interest plus the principal. So you figure out how much interest you owe and add that to how much you borrowed. If you borrowed $30,000 and you have to pay $15,000 in interest, $30,000 plus $15,000, your total investment is $45,000. So the answers to number 1. In number 1, you have to figure out the interest first. All right? You borrowed $25,000 at 5% interest for 18 years. So you go 25,000 times 0.05 times 18 gives you an interest total, and you don't have to have this written down. This will be in your equation somewhere, but the interest you should get is $22,500. Now, if you get this interest wrong, then your investment is going to be wrong. Your final answer is going to be wrong. So here's another one where you're doing a lot of math till you get to the answer that you want. So carefully, you know how to multiply. You know how to move decimals around, okay? You should know how. And if you don't by now, then it's time to figure it out. So number 1, your final answer, your total investment is $47,500. $47,500. Your $25,000 plus your interest, $22,500, gives you $47,500 as your final answer. Number 2, they already have the interest there for you. You borrowed $41,000. He paid $16,400 in interest. There you simply add the 2 together, giving you $57,400. Number 3, this is lesson 148 again. Number 3, name the sets of corresponding sides according to the way they do it in lesson 146. You should have, in any order, B over U, C over V, and D over W. And those, you might as well do the first figure that you get, put that letter first. So B over U, C over V, D over W. Technically, I suppose you could have U over B, but just for the sake of being less confusing, go by the first figure you see, put that as your numerator, B over U. All right? Then number 4 is 15 over 18 and 11 over 12, and that is X. That means they are not similar, okay? So you put S for similar, X for not similar. 15 over 18, 11 over 12, cross multiply. If you get the same answer, if 15 times 12 is the same as 18 times 11, then they're similar. If it's not, they are not, and they get an X. Number 11, give the position of Stockholm F2. Number 12, find the distance in miles from Luxembourg to Helsinki to the nearest inch. So it is 1 3/4 inches from Luxembourg to Helsinki. Your scale of miles is 1 inch equals 640 miles. So all you need to simply do is 1 3/4 or 1.75, if you please, times 640. And that gives you an answer of 1,120 miles. 1,120 miles. Lesson 149, which is due tomorrow, has to do with writing checks. Okay? You check this check writing out, and you talk to your dad about it. Your dad or your mom are the check writing experts. Do the exercises that are in the book. Check it out. I am not going to give you checks, all right? So if you want to make model checks, if your parents want to show you a blank check, they can do that. I will not be giving you any checks. So however you do this, just, learn from them, okay? Learn from your parents on writing checks. They're the experts. Check writing is actually kind of almost becoming an obsolete thing with online, being able to do money online and things like that. I still write checks. I don't do everything online. But yes, check this out with your parents. And so if there's any place where you actually need a check and you need to write it, you do not have to do that as far as turning in your work and things like that. But you should become familiar with it, and your parents will help you with that. Do lesson 149 for Tuesday. Have a good day.